Hey, what's up guys, Doug here back with another video on the DTF Motorsports YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 mods to do to your 6.7 Powerstroke. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know I work on a lot of 6.7s. I've owned a lot of them and they're a favorite truck out right now. I know so many guys that were die-hard Duramax fans, die-hard Cummins fans, and literally everyone I know has a 6.7 Powerstroke now. I can't think of one person I know that has a Duramax or a Cummins anymore. So I know there's a lot of these trucks out here. They're super popular. They're very reliable, great power, and just they make the right power where they're usable for everything. They're great daily drivers. They're amazing towing. I wouldn't say they get the best mileage out of all the diesels out there, but the newer ones with the 10 speeds do pretty good. So yeah, I work on a lot of these. So I'm gonna go over the top 5 mods for your 6.7 Powerstroke. Okay, so first let's go over the different variations of the 6.7. So the 6.7 has been on for quite a while. Came out in 2011. I like to say there's 4 generations of the 6.7. Some people say there's only 3. So first generation I would say is the 11 to 14. And then after that would be the 15 to 16, which is a steel body still, but it has a different turbo, and they increased the CP4 pump a little bit on those. Some people like to say the 11 to 16's all the same, which they're very close, but I still consider them different generations just because the turbo setup's totally different, the power range is different, CP4 is a little different, and also in 15 and 16 they changed the transmission from the 11 to 14. So same transmission, but they got rid of some clutches in it and it was actually a little weaker. So that's the second generation. Third generation, 17 to 19, obviously they switched to the Illumi-Duty, and they changed the turbo slightly in this one, updated the rods, the stronger rods in this one, and like I said, obviously the aluminum body. And then bigger changes into the 20 pluses, which would be the 4th generation. The castings and the blocks are different, castings and the heads are different. Stronger rods, steel pistons, got the 10-speed transmission behind them. Yeah, and then obviously 23 and 24, you have the high output options, but that's still the same as the 20 to 24, 6.7 are all the same. So those are the 4 generations I like to say. Like I said, some people say there's only 3 and they count 11 to 16 as 1 generation, but yeah, so there's not a huge difference in the 6.7s. They're all great. I had an 11, which I absolutely loved. It was identical to this truck, black, 4-door short bed. Some people say to stay away from 11s. I own an 11. I beat the absolute snot out of it. And when I sold it, it had like 230,000 miles on it. And the owner still has it. He still drives it. It was a great truck. Only reason I jumped up to the Illumi-Duty was because I live in Michigan and I hate rust. So personally, I prefer the look of the steel body. I do love the look of these trucks, but I don't know, just something about a steel body I love the look of. I think the side profile looks better, like the body lines are a lot more defined in the steel bodies. Just looking at the side of the Illumi-Duty, it's kind of flat. I still love these trucks, they look beautiful, but something about a steel body I just love. If I lived in a rust-free state, I would probably still have a steel body. So yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into the 5 modifications I recommend for any 6.7 really. Okay, so looking in the engine bay of my 2017, it's clearly not stock, and I'm sorry for the ugly coolant pipe that is next on my list to get upgraded, but not on this list. So yeah, we'll go over the top upgrades. Like I said, your truck doesn't have to look like this. This isn't the way they come stock. This is just the route that I chose to go. So starting with number 1, the absolute number 1 upgrade I recommend to every 6.7 owner is a disaster kit. Every 6.7 that comes in here, if it doesn't leave with a DCR, it at least leaves with a disaster kit. I don't think I've let one leave here without a disaster kit yet. So that is for the problematic CP4 pump. Everyone knows about it that has a 6.7 Powerstroke, or if you're looking at one, I'm sure you've at least heard of it. The CP4 pumps, they're sensitive for dirty fuel and water, and they like to fail, and when they do, they send metal shavings through the whole fuel system, and that's about a $10,000 to $12,000 repair. So S&S has this kit here. It's just a reroute basically for the way the fuel flows, and has an extra filter in it. So if the pump does fail, all the metal shavings get caught in that filter before going through the entire fuel system. So if the pump fails, you just got to replace the pump, $1,000 part, and then they actually make a kit to replace the lines and the filters if you do happen to have a pump fail. So the CP4s don't fail as often as you hear about them. I think it's less than like a 7% failure rate or something. So, I mean, it's not like every 6.7 out there is going to have one fail. This truck personally has 281,000 miles on it, and it has the original CP4 in it. And when I installed the Disaster kit, 0 shavings in that pump, and it was spotless. So, I do run fuel additives every tank. But yeah, like I said, just that's a cheap insurance. It's like $400 for the kit. So like I said, that's the #1 thing I recommend. Even if you have to give up something else to do that, like if you have to put off getting a cold air intake or something to have this installed, I definitely recommend that for my #1 thing, just because it's cheap insurance. I'd much rather pay $400 and never have the fuel system fail versus, you know, saving $400 now and then having the fuel system get wiped out and spend $10,000 down the road. So yeah, like I said, that is my #1 upgrade for every 6.7 owner. And I did briefly mention it, the DCR pump. So some people are just anti CP4, like get rid of that thing. I don't care if this truck has 10 miles on it, get that thing out of there. So a lot of people ask me what I recommend, or either Disaster kit or DCR. It's a tough call. The only reason I don't 100% recommend a DCR is because these CP4s can last a long time. Like I said, 280-something thousand miles on this truck. So, you know, I don't want to tell a guy that has 10,000 miles on his truck, like, oh, you got to get rid of that thing. You got to buy this $2,200 pump and another $1,000 in labor. So it's hard to say. Like I said, you can, I always recommend this at minimum, like I said, $400. It'll save your fuel system, but if your CP4 does fail, your truck will still shut off. So it still could leave you stranded. So some people would rather just drop the $3 grand right away and get rid of that and put a DCR pump in it. So those are your 2 options as far as saving your fuel system. Either do that at bare minimum. Like I said, I usually recommend that first. You know, the CP4s can last a long time. But if you're 100% anti-CP4, do the DCR pump. So moving into upgrade #2, definitely going to be the cold side pipe. This is one of the top failure things I see on the 6.7s. It's inexpensive though, so that's good. But yeah, this is the early style cold side pipe. This is for the 11 to 16. They ran this style. It's plastic, a couple rubber boots. Yeah, this plastic was common for breaking, exploding, especially like right around this area. I see a lot of them where they break right here, right where there's kind of like these changes in thickness. Surprisingly, this one's not broken anywhere, it doesn't look like. But yeah, very common for these to crack. I have seen people wrap Pringle cans around this and wrap them with duct tape. So just a quick tip, if you're on the side of the road and you need to get this thing home, that's an option. I've seen people get a couple miles off of their truck to get it off the road or something. So and then this is the 17 plus style here. They switched to this like a full rubber hose. These aren't as bad. They don't necessarily like explode because they're not plastic, but it is common for them to crack like right in this area. Actually, when I went and bought my 17, I pointed out that this was cracked on this truck when I bought it. The owner didn't even know it. So when I test drove it, I kind of felt like it seemed underpowered. At first I thought it was me because I went from driving a tuned 11 to the 17 being bone stock when I bought it. So I was just like, something don't seem right. So I popped the hood, and sure enough, it was ripped right here, and the owner didn't even know it. So lucky for me though, I got a good deal on the truck. So yeah, like I said, this is a good upgrade. It's not expensive. You can get yourself a good upgrade for, I don't know, right around $300. You can get a nice stainless steel pipe, and it comes with new boots and clamps and everything. That way you don't have to worry about this. Definitely recommend this upgrade, especially if you tow, if you got a big fifth wheel or gooseneck, or your hot shot, where these pipes are constantly under boost. It will break on you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. These will fail. So that's my number 2 recommended upgrade. I will show you where these normally go on the truck real quick, just because my truck's a little different. It's not on there. And if you're going to look at a truck, I do want you to know where to look. So this pipe would normally be sitting like this, right in this area right here. So this is your cold side intercooler pipe. So normally you'd have your plastic intake. There'd be like a aluminum throttle valve here, and this part would be clipped onto it, and it would run right down here to your intercooler. So that way, if you're going to look at a 6.7, you know where to look if you're not familiar with the engine bay. So yeah, that's my definitely my number 2 recommended upgrade. All right, so now my number 3 recommended upgrade. This one was a close battle between the cold side pipe and the CCV filter, between number 2 and 3. So it was a close call. But like I said, cold side pipe is pretty much guaranteed to fail, and that'll leave you stranded. So that was why it was my number 2. So number 3 is going to be my crankcase vent filter. Really, you don't have to upgrade it. If you maintain your stock filter and change it every 40, 50,000 miles, you could never have an issue. But the biggest problem, especially you're looking at used trucks, people don't change them. So that causes that filter to get clogged, and that excessive crankcase pressure will make your upper oil pan leak, and that will cause an expensive repair. So now we have options. So if you're looking at a low mileage truck, just maintain the filter. You can just make sure you change every 40, 50,000 miles, and that filter probably never give you an issue. The only downside to them is you will get a little oil residue in your intercooler piping, but that's, pretty much every diesel looks like that. So your other option is to get rid of the filter and reroute it underneath the truck. So on my truck, it is deleted and rerouted. So normally behind this filter, there'd be a big plastic box that would have a hose that run underneath here and into your stock lower intake. On mine, it's gone, so I can't really show you. I thought I kept it, but I can't find it. So mine is rerouted underneath the truck. Just a hose. There's a barbed fitting on the back, a hose that goes underneath the truck and just dumps it to atmosphere. Some cons to that, it does have a smell to it, and you will see a little bit of like a vapor coming out of underneath the truck from that hose. So that leads me to your third option, which is a newer thing. It wasn't available when I did this truck. The 2023 6.7 CCV filter, they changed the design. So instead of having actual filter material in it, it has baffles inside of it. So it can't really get clogged. And then it'll just reroute the vapors into your intake and just basically be the way it is factory. That newer filter does bolt onto the older trucks. So that's your couple options there. And one bonus note, if you do the CCV reroute, I recommend doing the billet internal filter from SPE Motorsports, not SPE Labs, SPE Motorsports. Just because it's a weird like billet filter. It looks like a cheese grater almost, but it goes underneath the barbed fitting, and the way it's shaped, it stops the oil residue from coming out the hose and leaking onto the ground. It does a great job. I've had it on my truck for, I don't know, maybe almost 3 years now. And I very, very rarely get drips from underneath this truck. The only time I do is if I towed something heavy, like 20,000 pounds for 8 hours. Then I park it in the garage that night and I might get a drip or two. But I park this thing in the garage every night and it doesn't leak most of the time, like I said. So if it did, I wouldn't park it in here. So that's just a little bonus thing to know. If you do the CCV reroute, I do recommend either an internal filter or you can get a external catch can. So just kind of whichever route you want to go with that. But so yeah, that's my number 3. Like I said, you got a couple options there, but yeah, just the CCV, either make sure you maintain it, get rid of it, or upgrade it to the 23 plus style. And one thing to know, if you are looking at a 6.7, one way to tell if that filter's ever been changed, if it's the stock one, it'll have a big white sticker on the top of it, like a big rectangle sticker. And it'll have like a QR code, which I think shows your injector codes or something. But if it's ever been changed, it should just be a black top. There shouldn't be any white stickers on it. So if you're looking at a truck with over 50,000 miles and it has that white sticker, like I said, either replace it right away or get rid of it. All right, so moving on to upgrade recommendation number 4. Cold air intake, especially on the 20 plus trucks. I have seen stock 20 plus 6.7s collapse air filters. I don't know what it is about those 2020s, but they love their air. They make tons of power. Those things are animals. So definitely on the 20 pluses, I recommend a cold air intake. Like I said, this is more than a cold air intake, but if you are looking at cold air intakes, I recommend checking out S&B. They're a great kit, full kit. They're not too expensive. Cold air intake runs like $350 from S&B. That comes with everything. Like on this style truck, it actually relocates the battery to there, so your air filter's up here. But yeah, so like I said, that's my number 4. Kind of going off of that and touching on my piping kit here. Obviously this cleans up the engine bay. It looks beautiful. It gets rid of the plastic intake on the 17 and down trucks. The 20 plus trucks have an aluminum upper intake, so not as big of a deal, but yeah, on the 17 downs, they can crack. So some people, me being one of them, agree that if I'm gonna spend $350 on a cold air intake and another $300 on a cold side pipe, I would rather just get rid of both of those things, knock everything out at once and do the full piping kit. This kit is $1,500-ish bucks. But like I said, if I was gonna spend $700 on that stuff and I wanted this anyway, I'll just do it right away. There are some benefits to this. This does definitely flow better. It looks amazing. They don't come powder coated like this. They usually come raw. There are options for powder coat when you go to purchase them, but I personally powder coated this myself. So with the full piping kit, you get your cold air intake. The cold side pipe comes with an upgraded larger hot side pipe, and then you get your nice upper intake here, and you get way better flow out of this. I have ran 2 different piping kits on this truck now. So the first one I bought, it was shaped different. Instead of having the split in the middle here, the cold side pipe kind of came across straight to that side, and then it had a piece that kicked off and went to the driver's side. And I didn't care for it as much. The only reason was just looking at it, like you could tell it was a straight shot from the intercooler to the passenger side. And then it had a sharp curve to go to the driver's side. So in like no boost or low boost applications, I felt like the truck was probably not seeing even pressures on both sides. I could be totally wrong, but that's just the way I looked at it. It just never sat right with me. So then I sold myself on this one. I sold that kit, upgraded to this one, and I feel more comfortable with it. And I did feel like my throttle response was better. It might just be, me, placebo effect, but I definitely thought my throttle response was better with this kit. So like I said, I would recommend this GDP one, or the Maryland Performance Products is identical to this. But yeah, I think the kit I had was Pro Power. Like I said, still a great kit. It was cheaper. I liked it. No complaints about it really, but it didn't sit right with me. And then also No Limit Fab is shaped like that too, where it's kind of like a straight shot from the cold side to the passenger side and a sharp curve to the driver's side. So I don't know. Could just be me, but I think this one looks better, and I slightly think it performs better. So, but yeah, that's just touching on the piping kit. And I do have a stock intake manifold, so I'll show you that real quick. All right, so this is the stock intake manifold for the 11 to 19 6.7 Powerstroke. So it is just plastic, and it does have a seam here where they're mated together. So these can crack, especially if you're making more power. These will crack and separate, and all the heat and stuff get into the plastic. I personally haven't seen one like in person fail, but I have seen them, pictures and stuff online where people have had these fail. So like I said, if you're doing your cold air intake and a cold side pipe and you want a piping kit anyway, I would just do it all at once. That's my recommendation there. But back to just being, recommending a cold air intake. Another little point to touch on that, whether you're keeping your stock intake manifold or upgrading to a piping kit, check your map sensor. I replace these things on so many trucks. They come in all the time looking like this. They're all caked up with soot. Here's another one. They're all caked up with soot. and this will affect your boost and your fuel mileage. The sensor is kind of expensive. I mean, not in retrospect compared to most things diesel related, but it's like 150-ish bucks. But I've seen online that people say it's cheaper if you buy the intake manifold, the brand new intake manifold that comes with that sensor. And from what I've seen, it's cheaper to buy the whole thing versus just buying the sensor. So just a little tip there. And then obviously, you know, these are usually caked up with soot and stuff too, so. All right. So that's my number 4 recommendation, cold air intake. I know I went off on a rant on that one, but I just wanted to make sure I give you guys all your options there. And one more little bonus upgrade. Since I mentioned the cold air intake and the piping kit, if you are going to do a piping kit, I do recommend the coolant reroute from SPE. So that replaces this hose down here that goes to the firewall, and this one right here that runs across the front of the engine bay and goes over to the coolant tank. So usually those would be kind of split here, laying all over your piping kit. And it doesn't look good for, you know, how much money you spend on your piping kit to have hoses laying all over and blocking your powder coat. So if you do go the piping kit, I do recommend the coolant reroute. It's a pretty cheap kit. I think from SPE it was, I want to say it was like 130 bucks. It was a pretty cheap upgrade to clean up the engine bay. So if you're going that route, I do recommend a coolant reroute kit. If you're leaving the stock stuff in there, it's not really a big deal because it belongs there, it fits onto it. It's just when you get rid of the plastic pieces that it clips into and stuff, it just kind of looks out of place. So that's kind of just like a little bonus upgrade that I recommend there. So yeah. All right, and then for recommendation number 5, tuning. Can't get the camera to focus on this. There we go. So this is my auto agent. Just plugs in the OBD2 port, so you can load tunes onto the truck. I'm not gonna say to load, you know, emissions defeat tunes on it because that's illegal, and who would do that? Anyways, even loading emissions compliant tunes on these trucks makes a huge difference in throttle response. With the way things have been with, you know, recent government, I should actually say past government, not recent government, because recent government, we're heading in the right direction. Past government, when, you know, Biden administration was really cracking down on everything with the EPA, tuning changed a lot. There's a lot of good tuners that have emissions compliant tunes, and when I first bought this truck, I put emissions compliant tunes on it, and this truck was a totally different animal than it was bone stock. So even if you're in a state, or, I mean, it's illegal to delete anyway. So anyways, if you're anywhere, I do recommend emissions compliant tunes. Like I said, they make a huge difference in throttle response. You can obviously get improved mileage and increased horsepower. So I do recommend tunes. No matter which way you take your truck, tunes can go a long ways with these power strokes. And since I kind of threw in cost with everything else, I do want to talk about cost of tuning. I'd say tunes themselves will probably run you, I want to say between $500 to $1,000 depending on what you get. If you get just a single tune, you might be able to get away with a little cheaper. Obviously you will need to buy a tuner such as an EasyLink. Those prices range all over the place kind of too, depending on what tuner you go with. But just for reference, I'll throw, you know, this was 550 bucks for the auto agent. So yeah, like I said, it's right around $1,000, 1,000 to 1,500 bucks. You can get yourself some tunes for your truck. And obviously there's beyond that, you can get crazy. But like I said, just kind of throwing out a general number since I threw out prices on the rest of the stuff. So yeah, just a quick refresh. Number 1 recommendation, either a disaster kit or DCR. Number 2, upgraded cold side pipe. Number 3 being that crankcase vent filter, either maintaining it, replacing it, or upgrading it to the 23 style. And number 4 being cold air intake, and number 5 being tuning, emissions compliant, obviously. Yeah, so anyways, Thanks for tuning in, guys. 6.7 Powerstrokes really are great trucks, even in stock form. I know a lot of my dad's buddies have new or next to new 6.7s that are still stock because they're still under warranty, and zero complaints about them. They're great trucks. I know someone's going to ask, what's the best generation? Which one should I buy? Which one's the best? Personally, if money wasn't an issue, I would go buy a 22. I think 22 would be my favorite. I'm a little leery on the 10-speed, but they've been out long enough, they've kind of proven themselves. I know they do have issues, and they are very expensive to fix, but when they work, they're great. And obviously, like I said, the 20 to 22 6.7 Powerstroke, or 20 to plus, I should say, 6.7 Powerstroke is the strongest. And I love the look of the 20 to 22 6.7. They just look right. The 23 and 24, not my thing. But I'm not trying to stray you away from an 11 to 14, a 15, 16, a 17 and 19. They're all great. Like I said, I've had two 11s, I had a 12, and I have a 17. I loved my 11. I know people say to stay away from them. The turbos are problematic, whatever. I loved the turbo on that truck. Like, the throttle response was so much faster than on this truck. But because that turbo had better throttle response, because it's smaller, it lacked on the top end of power. So pick your battles. They're all great trucks. But yeah, I just wanted to go over my top 5 recommendations for upgrades on your 6.7 Powerstroke. So thanks for tuning in. There's a lot more to talk about. I'll probably throw up another video kind of going through the comparison of like a steel body versus an aluminum duty or whatever. But yeah, so those are my 5 recommendations for upgrades on the 6.7 Powerstroke. And real quick, I almost forgot to mention, most of the stuff that I mentioned in this video, I do have installation videos on my YouTube channel. So make sure you check out my other videos. I know I have an S&S Disaster install video. I have a DCR install video. I have a CCV reroute install video. I don't remember if I specifically have a cold air intake video or a cold side pipe video, but they are included in some of my other videos. I think like how to take apart the truck and reinstall stuff. So if they're not there yet, I'll have to look again. I will be having another truck in here soon, so I'll make sure to try to make some separate videos for that stuff. But yeah, make sure you guys check out my other videos. Thanks again for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. You got any questions? Comment down below. That's new. Okay. Yeah, thanks guys.